Hey there, my name's Lewis, and this is Kakou Talk, a podcast about accessibility and community brought to you by Kakou Technologies. You're listening to episode 1 with Josh Marsh. I hope you enjoy. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Kakou Talk, a podcast about accessibility and community. My name is Lewis. I'm the digital marketing and content creator for Kakou Technologies, an accessible engineering company and social enterprise based in Chesterfield in Derbyshire, United Kingdom. This is a pretty exciting moment for Kakou, and honestly for me too. I've never hosted a podcast before, so this will hopefully be a very smooth learning experience. I'm very wet behind the ears, but unlike me is my guest and a friend of Kakou, Josh Marsh, who I've been annoying with questions and queries about podcast production for a good few weeks now.
No, it's been absolutely fine. I've really enjoyed seeing your journey into podcasting as well. It's great to kind of share the love because I think podcasts are brilliant. So yeah, very, very excited to be your first guest.
Yeah, thank you for joining me to be your first guest. So Josh, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Okay, yeah, great. So I actually work for an organisation called Destination Chesterfield. So we're all about spreading positivity around the town, promoting the town, letting people know what's happening, trying to encourage investors to come and base their businesses here as well. So it's a really varied role, a lot to get my teeth into all the time, and every day is different. So yeah, and I love shouting about the town that I was born in, and I think there's a lot to shout about in Chesterfield too. So yeah, I really love to do the job that I do, and yeah, get a lot of reward from it.
Well, so you're a proper Chesterfield boy then. I didn't know you were born here. So is it like a lifelong sort of thing?
Yeah, kind of. I was born just down the road in Tupton, actually, little village, just kind of on the
Yeah,
outskirts.
yeah.
But of course, Chesterfield, from where you are in Tupton, you can see the spire over on the horizon, miles in the distance. And it's always like that beacon, going into town. And I've always been a big supporter of the football club as well for my sins. So, yeah, I've always loved the town. I've always loved being in and around it. And even though I don't actually live in the town now, I'm always up there for work. I'm back at the weekends. If I spend too long away from Chesterfield, to be honest with you, I get very homesick. I need to be back there in and amongst it. Because, yeah, I just absolutely love it. I love the people. I love the businesses. I love everything about it. So the job I'm doing now it's really perfect for me because I can tell everybody else just what a brilliant place it is.
Yeah, it sounds like it's someone that's very close to your heart. I think that Chesterfield is somewhere that, because it's kind of this like it's seen as this transient spot in between Sheffield and Nottingham. I think it gets overlooked a little bit, but it's such a beautiful place. I mean, I was never born in Chesterfield, but my grandparents and my mum both were. So I always tell people I'm half Chesterfieldian. But yeah, I moved here recently, and yeah, like you, I'm living here, I'm working here now. Well, I'm not in Tupton, but yeah, I am. It's such a great place. I was recently in an article, wasn't I, where I was talking about Chesterfield.
Yeah, it was great to have you on our website. Definitely speaking about
Yeah,
your favourite things about the town. That's one of the features we do. We do our Champion of the Week, Chesterfield Champion of the Week,
yeah,
where we get someone from a local business, just to speak about what they love and again just spread that positivity about what a great place it is. So yeah, it was definitely great to have you on there and. Yeah, it's just brilliant, isn't it? Like you say, it's kind of in that in between Sheffield and Nottingham. And yeah, in a way, yeah, maybe sometimes it does get overlooked because of that. But in a way, I think it's really good for the town to be located in between the two because it kind of, in terms of that connectivity as a place as well and the transport links it's got, I think that really does go in its favour as because not everyone wants to live in a big city.
no,
People
of
might
course
like
not.
that smaller town vibe, and you got things like the local market and the little independent shops, and it's a bit of a not a slower kind of tempo of life, but perhaps just a little bit of a more close knit community, I suppose, and that's what some people look for with that commutability to those big cities. So yeah, in a way, I think it does have a lot going for it on that front.
Yeah, I mean the transport links in Chesterfield are great. I mean we're sort of getting away from the point here, but the transport in Chesterfield is wonderful. I always say I can get to Sheffield quicker from Chesterfield than people in Sheffield can get into the city. It's so anyway. Yeah, Chesterfield's a great place. So I mean, okay, at the risk of making this podcast sound a little bit like a local derby, seeing as we've both just been talking, waxing lyrical about Chesterfield, I just wanted to ask you about Destination Chesterfield's Chesterfield Champions project, which is, of course, I probably should have introduced it, is the article, or the series of articles, I suppose, that I was recently featured in, talking about Chesterfield and Kakou's work in the community of Chesterfield and Derbyshire. So I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit more about it. You know, how long have you been publishing these weekly champions, and kind of what exactly is your criteria for selection? Because I think it's such an interesting idea to push.
Yeah, so Chesterfield Champions originated, I think, pretty much at the start of when Destination Chesterfield was formed. So it's just a network, a community of local businesses, and it's up to the businesses whether they want to sign up to it, you know. And we're more than happy to have. It's kind of the more the merrier with champions. Really, we love to get our local businesses involved in our networks, talking to each other, talking to us, and helping us promote the town. So that's where it all kind of stemmed from. I think there's about 200 businesses now signed up. So yeah, really good. And what we do with that is, you know, we're constantly in touch with them all, like yourselves at Kakou, just to try and spread the word about all the great things that our businesses do. And part of that is our weekly columns that go into the Derbyshire Times newspaper and on our website. But yeah, we also host big events. I think coming up soon, we've got the Chesterfield Investment Summit. We have a skills and employability conference taking place early next year. So yeah, there's always things happening in the, you know, within our organisation, and getting our local businesses involved, and really, making sure that community's there among our local businesses. That's really important to us.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of just sort of, you know, here at Kakou and Destination Chesterfield, I know we really care about community. We care about uplifting the people who want to make a difference and the businesses that want to act for change. I think the Chesterfield Champions project is a really great way of just saying these people want to talk about this place that they love and the people that they love, and they want to share some of the things they're doing. Because I think, again, kind of goes hand in hand with Chesterfield being a very close-knit community of kind of slightly slower pace of life than the bigger cities that surrounds it. I think that these people can kind of get lost in the woodwork a little bit when they really do care about this place and the communities within them.
Yeah, most definitely. And sometimes it is just about giving people a bit of a voice, isn't it, as well, and giving them a platform to be able to say what they want to say, and shout about what a great place it is. And I think the whole idea behind Destination Chesterfield in the first place, when it was founded just over 10 years ago, was the fact that we needed a platform to shout about how great the town was. You know, maybe it was a little bit overlooked at the time by the bigger cities, and that's why it all happened, I think, because we knew, all of us here, what a brilliant place it was, and now we're able to shout about it on a bigger scale and try and attract those other investment opportunities into the town as well, which, you know, will just help build it going forward, and turn it into, you know, something, I suppose, that's even bigger than it is today, and just keep growing it, really. Just keep growing the town, and keep attracting people, businesses, visitors to the place, and make it a destination for everyone to. I think the borough council like to use the phrase work, live and invest, and, you know, completely back that up. I think it's really, you know, three key points that are going to help us grow the town.
Yeah, it's almost like you're trying to want to make people on a national scale understand what we already know about what a great place this is, how great it is for accessibility, how great it is for children, for schooling, for education, for the connecting the vulnerable, because obviously everywhere has these people who care, everywhere has these people that help. But I think what's really interesting in Chesterfield is just the sheer volume of these people and companies and projects and enterprises that really are just so committed to helping people and uplifting people and kind of connecting people. And something I wanted to ask you in the spirit of that is, obviously, you know, I think everyone who has ever started a podcast recently will have to mention the pandemic and the lockdowns. So I think it's only right we do too.
Yeah.
But I think I want to get your perspective on this. Obviously, your work is very much based in the community of Chesterfield and communities as a whole. You know, it's all about strengthening community. It's all about shouting about the best people, you know.
Yeah.
How do you think, on both a local and national scale, that the common sense of community has changed in a post-lockdown United Kingdom, if at all? You know, do you think people are going to come out of this thinking a little differently about their neighbours? Do you think they're going to come out of this caring more about their common communities and neighbours?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I'd like to think so. I certainly hope so. And I think we did see during that pandemic, as you mentioned there was so much going on in Chesterfield where people were going above and beyond to help others. You know, those people that were the most vulnerable. We saw local restaurants delivering food to the hospital to make sure the staff were fed on
Yeah,
their, extra long shifts, and everyone really stepped up to the plate. And there's been a little bit of that carried on. You know, we're seeing it, coming up to Christmas now, lots of, again, businesses doing local appeals for the food banks and things like that. I think there's a local business that I've just had a story from today that they've kind of created shoe boxes again for Operation Christmas Child. So there's so much going on in the town in terms of, I certainly think the business community kind of trying to raise awareness of, the importance of supporting those that need the support the most. But yeah, whether that translates into people's everyday lives, I don't know. I mean, I've certainly noticed that off the back of the pandemic, since lockdown restrictions have eased, things have just got so busy for people. I think that's something that we have to take into account, that actually, we all have very, very busy lives. And sometimes it's difficult to focus on other things when you're just
yeah,
trying to
of
keep the head
course.
above the water yourself. So I don't know. I think it's a bit of a balance of the two. I think there's certainly the sense of community is there and the will is there. It's just whether, I suppose, people have enough time, really, and energy, I suppose, to dedicate towards helping the people that need it. And certainly at Destination Chesterfield, we're all about promoting that sense of community. We have strong links with our local charity sector and some of the great organisations in the town that help those people. And long may that continue. I think the more we can do that, the better it's going to be for everyone in the area.
Yeah, it's almost like, quite surprisingly, quite shockingly, as the pace of life kind of gets back to as it was before pandemic, or at least we're getting there. It can be quite, at least for me, it was quite a shock to think like, wow, everything is just so sudden. Everything everywhere is so busy, everywhere is so quick now. These places of business and public spaces are so they're so packed now. There's so many people here. I went to the supermarket the other day, and it was the first time I didn't wear my mask, and it felt very alien. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people are still very much in an adjustment period. But
most
yeah,
definitely.
I do massively agree with you. I think it was obviously it was a time of great sort of anxiety and a lot of uncertainty. But I do think that like so many people stepped up to the plate. I think that we did a lot in this. We did a lot as a country and as a series, as a collective of communities that I'm really proud of. Like you said, the deliveries to hospitals. The helping out your neighbours who weren't able to go and do a food shop because they were isolating or they were ill with COVID. I think that I think this country really did step up. I think we really saw the best of people during this time, which is really nice to know. It's really nice to know that in times like that, there was actually kind of sense of community that really did bind us. It's really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it does show you that really, when push comes to shove, people really do care about others. I guess sometimes like we just alluded to, the busyness, should I say, of life just kind of gets in the way a little bit. But when people need it, when the chips are down and people really, really do need that help, you do see people coming and giving up the time and putting that extra effort in, going the extra mile. And I think, from my point of view, again, I'm going to shout about Chesterfield here. And I think Chesterfield's brilliant for that as a local community. I think because it's got that kind of tight knit atmosphere, everyone knows everyone kind of thing, that you can walk down the street and you'll know somebody and say hello to them, ask how they are, ask how the family's doing, and that's
Yeah.
what's so special about where we're from. And I think Chesterfield, more so than perhaps a lot of other places in the country, certainly has that kind of camaraderie and spirit and togetherness.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've definitely seen that. I've lived a few places in my life. I'm only 22, obviously. I'm still moving around. I'm still very transient. But in the places I've been, I think Chesterfield might be my favourite. The way that everyone here seems to know each other, the way everyone here always has time for their neighbour, always has time for a friend. I think it's something really special. And I don't want to go out on a limb and say that this is unique to Chesterfield, but it's definitely something special about the place. It's definitely something that was not refreshing. It was just eye-opening, I think, to see that there are places like this in the world. There are truly, truly good people who really love to be part of their communities in places like Chesterfield.
Yeah, and I always like to use a bit of an analogy about bit of an anecdote, I suppose, about my
Right?
partner, who's she's lived in Nottingham all her life, proper city girl, if you like. And the first time I brought her up to Chesterfield, to meet the family, to meet my friends, have a bit of a night out in the town, she was just astonished about the amount of people I knew. And she was like, "Have you paid all these people just to make you look popular?" And I said, "No, this is just how it is in this town. Everyone just knows people. You just know everyone and you say hello to everyone because that's just how it is up here. It's that real togetherness and tight knit community. And I think that's just such a great thing about where we're from, and that breeds that kind of community spirit when everybody knows it and everyone, and you're more likely to go out of your way for that person if you can put the name to the face and you've actually spoken to them and had that relationship with them, I suppose. Whereas if you're in a big city, it's kind of a bit more dog eat dog, I think. So yeah, I certainly love the sense of community where we are, and yeah, I hope that gets emulated in other places. Like I said, that maybe I've got a bit of a blinkered view. I don't really know what it's like in other places. I mean, living most of my time in Nottingham now, I know it's. I certainly don't think there's that kind of community spirit here. I mean, I like the place, but it's not home. Chesterfield's home.
Yeah.
When I go back to Chesterfield on my weekends or whatever to watch the football or to visit the family, that to me just it it completes me almost. It makes
Yeah.
me feel like it's this is the place where I'm from, and these are my people. And that's just how it is, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose also, yeah, that opens up a really interesting conversation about the difference between communities within larger cities. Examples here, Nottingham or Sheffield. We both have experience there. I lived in Sheffield for 3 years, and you're currently in Nottingham. Versus the sort of sense of community you get in places like Chesterfield, these smaller towns where people are a little bit more close knit. There's a little bit more of a history between people. Everyone knows each other. Everyone says hello. You could probably tell by my voice, I'm actually from the south of England. I was actually born in London. I lived most of my life in Kent. But I came to Sheffield for university and I loved it. I wanted to stay up here with my family, with my friends. So yeah, I decided to come to Chesterfield because it was somewhere that I remember from my youth. It's somewhere that's got very strong links with my family. And it's somewhere that I've just come to absolutely fall in love with being here. And one thing I was kind of taken by, this is like an example. I believe I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in the Chesterfield Champions article that I did. Well, article or interview? I suppose it was more of an interview, but
Yeah.
I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been sat at a bus stop or a train station and a stranger has not come up to me to start a conversation or have a chat to me about something. Everyone there is very happy to sort of say hello, see how you doing, tell you a joke, ask you for help. And it's an environment where I feel very confident in just reciprocating, speaking to people, offering that help, having a chat, having a joke. It's very strange. This is living in Chesterfield has been the first time in my life that I've kind of seen that side of people. I've seen that side of communities.
Yeah, again, I think we're quite a loud, proud, kind of extroverted bunch of people. I think if you're from Chesterfield, it just comes with the territory that you've got to be a little bit out there, and you almost got you. I think you just naturally born. It must be in our DNA. We're just born with that kind of gift of the gab, and we love to talk to people and just find out about their lives and find out what's going on. Or it might, yeah, like you say, just might be something as simple as just telling a bit of a joke, having a bit of a laugh. But it's that kind of thing that's what makes it such a special place to me compared to if you go down to a London. I've sat on the tube before and everyone's just kind of blanking each other, don't really want to
No,
know.
yeah,
And I don't know. I don't think I could live my life like that. I need to be out there talking to people and finding out about people, and because everyone's got a story to tell. That's what I love about our town. Everybody's got a story to tell, and there's just such a familiarity to it. And yeah, I'd hate that for it to ever be taken away. And yeah, that sense of community is just so important, and it makes the town what it is, and it gives it its DNA. Really, the fact that everyone's just so nice to each other and talkative and will help each other.
Yeah, I think that's what you get when you come to somewhere like not even strictly a Chesterfield. Whenever you see that side of a smaller community, whenever you see that side of a Chesterfield, I think it really does it shows you the side of people that maybe you weren't aware of before. It certainly did me. I spent a lot of my life in London. I spent a lot of my life in, large towns in Kent. I spent a lot of my life in Sheffield.
Yeah.
And, like I just said, in Chesterfield, I sort of saw this side of people that I wasn't necessarily used to seeing, that maybe I didn't know was there. And I think it's interesting that the personal history these people have. I know so many people, like yourself, they were born in Chesterfield, they spent most of their life in Chesterfield. If they're not in Chesterfield, they miss Chesterfield, And I think that it's interesting that sort of lends itself to a real familiarity, not only with the town, but with everyone who is in that town. It feels like everyone knows each other.
Yeah, definitely. It's a weird one, really. I think you do just become attached to it, And I suppose again, I look at the spire, and I think other people look at that crooked spire, and it's because it's just got that so unique focal point to the town as well, and everyone's got that kind of connection to it. No matter where you live, you've probably got a view of the crooked spire from where you live in Chesterfield. Even that, it just kind of brings people together. I think just everything about the town, just. Yeah, I love the place. I love the people, and obviously I've moved away now for a couple of years, but still work there. And yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way, really. I think I'd always need some kind of connection to the area, really, because otherwise I think my life would be more miserable for it.
Yeah, the spire is almost emblematic, isn't it? This sort of tall, crooked. If you don't know what we're talking about. One of the most famous landmark within Chesterfield that sort of become a symbol of the people and the town and the area is this. I mean, you probably know better than me if you want to tell them about it, Josh.
Yeah, so it's the Crooked Spire Church, which is it's given its name because it's got a wonky spire. It was built centuries ago, and of course, there's lots of myths about why it was wonky. So different things about the devil came and sat on the spire and things like that. But I think it was just because of the unseasoned wood or something like that. They just didn't build it properly, basically. But no, it's such a striking and unique building, really, and because it's the tallest building in the town, you can see it for absolutely miles, and it just kind of sits above everything on the landscape. And yeah, it's just kind of it's just ingrained within, I suppose, the fabric of the town. There's a lot of businesses with Spire in their name, for example, and of course the football club Chesterfield FC nicknamed the Spireites, and they have the Spire on the badge. So again, it's just so ingrained in the DNA, and no matter where you go in the country, if you tell someone you're from Chesterfield, they'll say, "Oh, the place with the wonky spire," and it's a conversation starter straight away.
It's definitely my favourite sort of landmark. It's definitely this kind of one that I think is just the most interesting. It's the most emblematic of the culture and the people. This sort of like big, large historic building that's got this very wonky, sort of unusual spire at the top. I think it's such a sweet, almost fairy tale sort of building within Chesterfield. I really do love it. Every time I walk past it, it makes me smile. Just looking at it. I like that somewhere like that can exist.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot to be said about a lot of these new buildings that go up in cities now. These big office blocks and blocks of flats and things like that. But for me, you can't take away that kind of old school architecture. And Chesterfield's full of it. It's got shops with like mock Tudor frontage on, looking like it's from centuries old. And of course, where the museum and the local theatre, the Pomegranate Theatre, is, the Stevenson Memorial Hall.
Yeah.
And that's a building that can quite often get overlooked. You just kind of walk past it without actually looking up to see the amazing architecture on the roof of that place. It's such a beautifully designed building, that. And so there's so many lovely little kind of buildings and landscapes in and around the town that, I think as someone from the area, you might take for granted, but I think for someone visiting the area, it certainly gives it that unique charm.
Yeah, I actually this podcast turning into a bit of a love letter about Chesterfield. This is an introduction to a large part of what Kakou is. But just thinking about the visitor thing, this is more of a personal anecdote. I actually had my graduation ceremony belated by a year. I had that on Monday, and my dad, who all his life has been kind of a London boy, been a Bexley boy, someone who's always loved these cities, and right now he lives in Swansea in Wales. He's not so used to these small communities. And when he came to visit Chesterfield and we were walking around, we got something to eat, he was like completely blown away by, like you said, the architecture, the spire. It was something that I was just looking at his face the whole time. It was very interesting to see someone's first impression of these
Yeah,
places in
someone,
Chesterfield.
definitely.
But,
Yeah, I mean, we went to the big fireworks event, and my partner brought her friend up from Nottingham, and kind of drove past it on the way, and she was like, "Wow, I never actually thought it'd be that wonky. I heard it was wonky, but I never thought it'd be that wonky." It's
yeah, it's like
something
that.
like we've
Oh, it
got our
really is
own.
crooked.
Yeah, it's like we've got our own almost leaning Tower of Pisa kind of right here, haven't we? It's yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, at the risk of this podcast sort of just becoming a massive sort of making big heart eyes at Chesterfield, I actually wanted to ask you about something that Destination Chesterfield is a very recent sort of. So the Made in Chesterfield campaign, which I believe you have a hand in recently, right?
Yeah, so I've been kind of going along to the school tours. Yeah, I mean, I guess I should just explain and
Yeah.
outline what it is, really, shouldn't I? So, yeah, we're in touch with a lot of local businesses, kind of construction, engineering, manufacturing, those kind of sectors, to try and encourage more young people into taking up careers in those kind of fields, because there's a lot of that kind of work in the town, a lot of that kind of manufacturing and engineering stuff, and it's important that we continue to drive skills into those areas, really, and that's going to benefit the local economy in the long run. So the whole idea of Made in Chesterfield is getting young people while they're still at school age, and getting them kind of inspired by these businesses. So we actually take them on trips round. For example, we were at one. There's a new office block being built in the town centre called the Northern Gateway Enterprise Centre, which is going to be fantastic. But they were actually on site with the construction company, Woodhead, who are building it. And Woodhead kind of talked to them through the site, the planning around it, all the different roles that are involved with a project like that, and really trying to inspire them into the range of careers available in those kind of areas, because a lot of people would just see it as maybe dirty work, I don't know, or low
Yeah.
skill, low paid, and that's not the case at all. There are so
No,
many
not at all.
brilliant skilled jobs in manufacturing, engineering, and construction, and the whole idea of Made in Chesterfield is to highlight those to young people, maybe instead of taking that traditional university route like you or I did.
Yeah, I mean, what I really admire about this project, and the reason I wanted to talk to you about it, is because at Kakou, we've always been obviously, I must say, I've only been at Kakou a very short time, but the history of the company and the history of my brief work here so far has been laser focused on accessibility. And that's not only for, our work with disabled people or with students with special educational needs. It's also been in terms of just accessibility to opportunities that young people and vulnerable people may not necessarily have the means to enjoy or take a part in. And so seeing a project like this, which encourages children and gives them another option into the world of engineering, is just, I think it's a great idea. I think it's an industry that, like you say, we need to remove from this very flawed and outdated idea of being like dirty, low skilled sort of work, when really it's the engineers and the builders and the construction workers. They're the backbone. Everywhere you go, if it has a building, if it has some kind of urban development, there are people who planned it, who created it, who worked out how to install it. It's something that I think is still today just so underappreciated as an important line of work. And to see a project like this, which encourages young people to get into it, I think is really, really something special.
Yeah, most definitely. And if you learn a trade, like if you're a bricklayer, a plasterer, whatever it is, electrician, plumber, you've got a trade there for life and a skill for life,
Of
and,
course.
and they're always going to need those kind of jobs. And I think that's what's kind of the whole idea of Made in Chesterfield, is to really address those issues around employability, because across, I don't think it's just a Chesterfield problem, it's a problem kind of across the whole country, with getting young people into work, really, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of young people kind of, whatever, they go to uni, they come out of uni, and then realize, oh, hold on, and there's not really many jobs in this sector that I've trained years for, and then they kind of get a bit of a crossroads, unsure what to do with the careers. Whereas what we're trying to do with Made in Chesterfield is highlight,
Yeah.
there are some brilliant jobs available. You're setting yourself up with a good career for life, where you're going to be able to, do things, earn a good wage. That's obviously really important to people, isn't it, mate? And building a life for yourself in Chesterfield, and making sure that those skilled people stay in Chesterfield rather than going away to the big cities, because that's another important thing, is the retention of the great talented people we have in the town. And that's, the whole ethos behind Made in Chesterfield really is to ensure that those skills stay here where we need them.
Yeah, I really hate the notion of work being described as unskilled. Like, there could be any kind of unskilled labor. When you think about the years of experience and training and apprenticeships these people go through in order to become engineers, to become construction workers, to take up a trade like that, it really frustrates me to sort of see them labeled as it's unskilled work. It's unskilled labor, when it's anything but. It's anything but. And I think, like you said, you're kind of removing this stigma. You're showing this new world of opportunities for young people who may not have considered it. If you show them that it is work, that it can be a lifelong thing, it can be so rewarding, it can lead you down so many roads, and it can take you to so many qualifications and opportunities. Like I said, it's something that I think is just very noble. It's something that at Kakou, with our work in getting people into STEM, I think it's something that is very, very important today.
Most definitely. I think a good example of that you just mentioned there is the care sector as well. Didn't we see during the pandemic the amazing, breadth of duties and extra tasks that, those fantastic care workers had to take on, and before it was paid like an unskilled job, really, wasn't it, in terms of the salary that a lot of the care workers were earning. But actually, I think the pandemic has highlighted to a lot of people, no, it is a very, very skilled profession, care work. And we were very pleased to see at our annual awards, business awards, the Love Chesterfield Awards this year, we were pleased to see that the Apprentice of the Year award actually went to a girl who works for Heathcote's Group, actually, which is a care company based in Chesterfield. So which really does show that, to work in that sector, you do have to have a lot of skills. And you're right. I think it's like that with every single sector you go into. It doesn't matter what job you do. You need skills to do it. You need training, and it takes hours of hard work to give up and sacrifice to be able to become skilled in a certain profession. And certainly in Chesterfield, we're all about highlighting the importance of getting the people upskilled, trained properly, to ensure that they're into the jobs that are going to be able to provide them, help them thrive really throughout their life.
Of course, yeah. I think, like you said, I think something the pandemic really showed us is just how valuable these people are. Like you said, there seems to be this really strange, outdated stigma around certain jobs, as if anything could be unskilled, as if anything could be beneath someone. I think something that the pandemic has shown is that so many of these people who are so important to our society and start everyday functioning lives really, really showed up for us. Food service staff, people who work in retail, people who work in supermarkets, the engineers, the scientists, the carers, the nurses. It's something that it's highlighted just how important these people are, regardless of these strange opinions and maybe outdated views people have on those lines of work. It's just shown how vital they are and how important a role they play in our community.
Most definitely. And it comes back to that word community again, doesn't it? And everyone playing a part and really making sure that no matter what area you live in, that place does thrive, and that people can, have a good quality of life. And I think that's really, really important. It's everyone needs to play a part and a role. It doesn't really matter how big or small your role is. If you're playing a role and you're having that effect on somebody's life, and I think personally in the job I do, I feel like I have an impact on people and certainly business owners and people in the town, and I love that. When I turn my computer off at the end of the day or whatever and sit down and reflect, I always think, I've helped people out today, and you can't beat that feeling, knowing that you're making a difference to people's lives.
No, you can't. I think that's really, really wonderful feeling to have. I think if you can finish your day and know that you've done good for just even one person, I think that's incredibly rewarding. I mean, I definitely felt that way when I interviewed for Kakou many months ago now. I mean, I did say in the interview, and I did think, and I was telling my friends about it. It's such a rare feeling to kind of see this job and interview for this opportunity that you really, really do believe is doing good. You know, it is a net positive for the world to have this job and to work with these people and to take up this opportunity. I think it's something that's very rare, and I think that if you can feel like that, you're very lucky. You know, you've done a lot of good. You're a very fortunate person if you can close your laptop at the end of every day and think, I've actually done a very good thing for someone today.
Yeah, most definitely, and yeah, just again a bit of a shout out for you guys really at Kakou and some of the work you've
Thank
done
you.
as well during the pandemic. I mean, the events that you've been putting on to try and engage, young people in art and ensuring that their mental health's being looked after, and those well-being sessions that you've put on during the pandemic. Really, really, inspiring stuff. To be honest with you, it was great to see, and great to see so many young people take up that opportunity as well. And again, it's that making a difference in those communities to people that perhaps, might have felt left behind, might have felt forgotten, have been able to go along to something, feel like they're part of a community, and really get some good advice that's hopefully going to help them. Well, it certainly helps them navigate their way through the pandemic. So, yeah, really, really great to see the work continuing at Kakou.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, we're very proud of it. I mean, like I said, I'm a relatively recent addition to the sort of Kakou team and the Kakou family, I suppose. But I'm so proud of what we've done. I'm so proud of what I've contributed to and what I've seen us do. And yeah, I mean, Kakou is a Hawaiian word. It means everyone. It means all of us. And I think it's a perfect name. We really do care. When we talk about accessibility, we don't just mean wheelchair ramps. We don't just mean disabled access. We mean opportunities for everyone, every single person, irregardless of your disabilities, irregardless of your financial situation. We believe everyone should have an opportunity to do these things. And also, I have to return the compliment. I think Destination Chesterfield is such a wonderful organisation. I think having such a focus on a place like Chesterfield, a place that I assume you and everyone else who works there just loves so dearly, and to have such a mission to uplift the people who help, to give these opportunities to young people. I think that it's definitely something we need more of. And the fact that we have it already here in Chesterfield and we've worked with you so closely is something that, again, I'm very proud of it. It's work we've done that I am happy to have been a part of.
Yeah, most definitely. And I can remember as well working for in my previous job at the local radio station. And that was, I was working at Peak FM as a newsreader and a journalist. And obviously, you saw a lot of the work in that role that Destination Chesterfield were doing. And at the time, I did think, it'd be great to work for an organisation like that and really help support the town and promote what a great place it is. And a year and a bit later, here I am sat working for them. And it's just weird how things come full circle like that. I'm very grateful the opportunity came up when it did, and absolutely delighted to be here. And any local businesses out there that might be listening, please get in touch with us and see what we can do for you, and see what you can do really to help promote what a great area we live in.
Yeah, no, please do reach out to Kakou and Destination Chesterfield. We're always eager to work with people, always eager to work within Chesterfield, within the realms of accessibility. And yeah, there's one last thing I wanted to mention, and you've been very polite in not plugging it thus far, but you actually host your own podcast for Destination Chesterfield, don't you? Hence all the advice and help you've been giving me with Kakou Talk in the last few weeks. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a show just simply called the Chesterfield Show, and it kind of sums up everything we've just been talking about. Really, it is just all about the town and what's happening, bit of local news, some of the upcoming big events that are happening in the area that people might want to take an interest in, just raising the profile of the area and the great things happening right under our nose that people might not necessarily know about. Because again, going back to when we started this conversation talking about how people have very busy lives, it's sometimes difficult to stop and take a breather. I just wanted to create something that was easily accessible for people, just takes up, half an hour out of their day or whatever, just to sit and listen about what's happening. And that's where the kind of idea came from. And still going strong now after I think 6 months or so. So it's a really good fun to produce. And hopefully, you're currently at the start of your podcast journey here with the first one, but hopefully you enjoy it as much as I have.
I have enjoyed it, yeah. Obviously, learning experience, wet behind the ears. I'm still a bit green, but I've really enjoyed it. The opportunity to speak to you and get to know you a little bit better in terms of your work in Chesterfield. yeah, no, I found this a really great time, and I think this is probably a good point to bring the episode to an end.
Yeah, thank
That
you
hasn't.
so much for having me. It's been really good to talk to you, and yeah, I mean, any opportunity for me to just chat on about about our little town and the work we do.
Yeah,
That's I'm more than happy, and yeah, can't wait to listen to some of the guests that you have on in the future. It's a really good thing that you've started here, and yeah, just hope that it can continue, and yeah, can't wait to listen to the inspiring stories of different people you have on in the future.
Okay, well, I've had a great time chatting with Josh, and I just want to extend a massive thank you to everyone who listened to this very first episode of Kakou Talk. I believe as we find our podcast footing, we're aiming to put out an episode a month, so stay tuned and keep updated by following us everywhere at Kakou Tech UK, and you can keep up with Josh in Destination Chesterfield everywhere at DesChess. That's DESCHES. So there we go. From Josh Marsh at Destination Chesterfield, and from myself, Lewis at Kakou, we had a really great time, and I hope you did too. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.